Why do you think we struggle with getting these aspects of our lives right in this country, first and foremost?
Well, thank you. I think the challenge is that when we try to deal with the issue, we cut leaves. We don't dig out the roots. First, I'll summarize it in one word: culture. Experts tell us now that culture will eat your strategy for lunch. As a consultant, one major thing that can be frustrating is for you to advise your clients. We consultants do that a lot. We submit reports. But we've come to find out that most of the time, organizations and even nations are unable to use the advice that we give. Because while the leader may be excited about the prospect of change, when they get to the point where they really want to execute the change, then they confront culture. Let me simplify it. Why do many people make New Year resolutions and they eventually find out 2 or 3 weeks into the new year that they are back to their old selves? Habits. What habit is to the individual is exactly what culture is to a group, organization, or nation. Before long, we're back to our default ways of thinking and ways of behavior, and they frustrate any attempt for us to create change. It's the same thing for us when it comes to leadership. We have a leadership culture in Africa. And it's not only Africa. All over the world, you have leadership culture. It's different. But for Africa, it's peculiar. And my hypothesis is that our original leadership culture is built on the monarchical structure of government, right? So you find out that in that system, the leader is superior to the people that are being led. The leader is powerful, and the follower is almost powerless, almost a slave. In fact, I come from the Yoruba culture. And when I look at the words that we use in leadership, everything revolves around the power of the king. We call the market Oja Oba. We call the farm Okuoba. Even government, we call it Ijo Oba. Okay, so the king's farm, the king's market, and government is the king's assembly. So until we restructure that in our mindsets, you will find out in our families, in our businesses, even in government, and interestingly, even our religious institutions, it's that structure of government where the leader is superior to the one being led. And as long as that is there, management of resources becomes a problem, because the people at the top who are so powerful use that power, usually political power, to channel economic resources to benefit themselves and those close to them. So we are unable to make optimum use of our resources. That's what management is about. Optimum use of resources. The most valuable resources of any country, most valuable assets are human beings. And when it comes to that, we're also underusing the potential in human lives.
In 2015, when we hosted you, you also said cultural approach to leadership is a problem in Nigeria. And I know you've interacted with several people over there, so I'm just wondering, several questions in my head about this. I mean, how deep-rooted is this? Does language affect it? Because here, when they recruit persons, for instance, in leadership, in politics, for instance, they say they're looking for the best people. Some of them have trainings overseas. They come back here, but we're still grappling with some challenges here. So does that suggest that we're not making any progress whatsoever?
Well, the indices are there for us to see. You were speaking earlier from the news about the exchange rate of the naira to the dollar, that it's crossed the threshold of 1,000 naira to the dollar.
Yeah.
And I remember that just 25 years ago, 1998, the naira was 22 naira, if I'm correct, 22 naira to the dollar. So it's continuous depreciation. Nations compete for resources against other nations. We're not doing well we're incapable of doing so. That's why we need to deal with the culture. We are not addressing it yet. In fact, when you need to change, when you need it's good we have elections, right? But winning an election does not make you a good leader. It gives you the opportunity to lead. Where are we learning to lead, really? Is leadership in the curriculum in our schools yet? How many leadership schools do we have? Those of us that occupy leadership positions, how many books have we read on leadership? How many trainings have we attended on leadership? Where have we served as apprentices? So we really need to address leadership development. I'll tell you what makes it different, maybe in a climate like the United States, for example. When you're in primary school or secondary school, they're already teaching you leadership. You don't teach a kid that much theory on leadership. It's practicals. They take them out to orphanages, take them out, they insist on them volunteering, okay? When you apply to go to university, they say you should write a personal statement. One major thing they're looking for there is your volunteering. If you don't volunteer, they know you are going to be a liability on the society. They're not likely to give you admission. They want to see where you have served for free, because leadership is about service. So when you have a society where that is absent, and there's a lot of poverty, a lot of deprivation, and everybody's dream is just to be able to break through, to focus on what to get. You allow and then somebody like that becomes a managing director, a CEO, a governor. It doesn't matter. The major preoccupation will be consuming resources. So I'm saying that at a national level, we need to act with urgency, or else we just keep thinking it won't get worse. But here we are. This new political, right?
If I may come in here, Nels out here. I was going to ask you the question of differentiating leadership from management. But you kind of like struck it when you said winning an election doesn't make you a leader. Because in the president's statement, it says Nigeria is not poor in resources. Nigeria is blessed all around. But the question is leadership and management, which some will say they are two different sides of the same coin. So at what point, how do we manage this?
Well, management, again, is optimum use of resources. Now, some resources are tangible, some are intangible. Resources include money, resources include equipment, it includes property, right? And then people. The leadership side focuses mainly on people. Everything rises and falls on the quality of people, right? Management ensures efficiency, right? That you're getting the most value out of the resources you have. You're using the least money to get the most results, the least number of people, the least equipment, the least amount of time to get your best resources. Leadership, on the other hand, like I said, focuses more on people and is more strategic. Stephen R. Covey described it this way in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you have to cut a bush, the manager is the one that ensures that he measures out, or he or she measures out the portions of grass to cut, gives each person the tool to use, make sure they're sharp, comes back to make sure that you cut the correct height of the grass. He said leadership is for someone to find the tallest tree in that bush and to climb it to the top to even be sure we're cutting the right bush in the first place. So that's why leadership needs to come first, because it's the one that has the widest view and actually considers the future, helps us to take a position now so that we can get the best results we can get for the future. We need leadership desperately.
Okay, so in our climb now, we've had people come into different positions. You talked about the structure we have, which is the monarchical structure, so to speak. And it looks as if they're not ready to budge from that position of I'm in charge, everybody else falls under. To even give room for the eggheads that have been brought in to do the bit they need to do. Again, I ask the question, how do we move from this